My mother told me, smile, sit still and smile in pictures, learn how to cook and do the dishes, pull your skirt over your knees and don't let the boys see your panties. But I would do everything except obey. And she would shake her head and say, for once, just once, in all of eternity, why don't you try being a lady? I don't have time for that. See, I don't have time for that. My schedule is packed with boys and food and boys and activities in between. There is no time to walk gently or appear serene. But my mother would come running, at least wear sunscreen. See, I never understood what made a lady a lady. Was it the way she did her hair or clicked her heels or the way she laughed appropriately? Or was it the way she flaunted her hips from side to side? What was woman enough? Or was I enough to be woman? Whose idea was that anyway? But one day, I looked in the mirror and saw a figure staring back, defying all laws of feminine propriety and dressed in slacks. It hit me like a creative epiphany, the most ingenious of all. And I knew. It struck like lightning. Instantly, I knew. Brace yourself, world, for I am about to create the lady. And why not? Everybody was doing it already. If magazines can Photoshop womanhood and facial wash can bring out your inner beauty, then I can define what kind of woman I will be. Because no longer will I succumb to propaganda or be part of L'Oreal and Sunsilk's twisted agenda. No longer will I bend over or be... No longer will I bend over or be... I'm sorry, I wrote this in an hour. Just an hour before Incitement. But I intend to finish it, so... Well then, it's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Melizarani, and I am a spoken word poet. Not very successful, as you just saw, but I will get better. I will get better at going at it. And there's this... What I intend to talk about today was about converting tragedy into triumph. And clearly, that was a tragedy, and I'm about to make that a triumph, as you can see. So, this is Wonder Woman. So, when I was growing up, my parents sent me to a lot of Sunday school. And in Sunday school, there was this story that really resonated in me. The story of Mahatma Gandhi. And the story is really cool. You see, it's like this. One day, there was this family that went up to Gandhiji and said, Gandhiji, you are the greatest leader of us all. Only you can tell my son to stop eating sweets because it's bad for his teeth. So Gandhi said, okay, bring him back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, the family came up to Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi went up to the little boy and said, stop eating sweets. It's bad for your teeth. And the parents were like, you took 2 weeks to tell my son that? And Mahatma Gandhi said, well, I like sweets. And I can't stop eating sweets, so I needed 2 weeks for that. So the moral of that story was that you should only preach what you practice. And that's something that I've always believed in. Because when I was growing up, and I attended a lot of motivational courses and inspirational talks and things like that. And then every time I would go, I'd be all pumped up. But the moment I came back home, I saw my dad, I would be like, I'm going to be just like that guy or that woman. But 2 days later, if a tragedy hit, and when I say tragedy, it could be a small thing, like my moments of stage fright which has never happened in my life. Or if you fall down, scrape your knee, or if you broke up with your boyfriend the day before, or someone passed away. And those little tragedies can affect you, because at that moment, no matter who you saw speaking and was all inspired, you'll be like, I don't like anybody. Life sucks. I don't know what to do with my life anymore. So I figured, okay, if these bad times are going to come, then I need to find a strategy to convert it into triumph. Because I'm not going to sit there and be all sad and terrible and wallow in that pity. So I tried to look for solutions. I looked for advice everywhere. And then I realized that the most important is to look within yourself. Because all those inspirational talks and things like that, and those quotes that you learn, for some amazing reason, they tend to linger in somewhere in the back of your mind. And if you sit quietly just for a little while, it'll come back to you. And that's how I learned the next idea, which was to find my skill. And I realized that on the darkest of days, when people tell you that you can't do a lot of things, or you're not really good at this, or you can't do that, and you feel all down, and when tragedy hits, there's one thing that you really should hold on to. And it's not a person, it's not your cat. It is the skill that you know, no matter what happens, it's yours. And you can sharpen it and use it and hang on to it. And for me, it's spoken word poetry. And I like to look at life and gather all my experiences, all the knowledge that I've gotten. And when I'm not writing poetry, I'm probably doodling. But here's the thing, right? I would write about anything and everything that hits me, or comforts me, or hugs me, because it gives me closure. And spoken word allows me to do that. So I suggest that you find your skill, you sharpen it, and you use it, and in a moment of crisis, you hang on to it. The second thing that I realized works really well is to dress your best at your worst. On the worst days of my life, I have this orange lipstick that I carry in my handbag. And I know it's silly and nobody really knows, but it's a really good secret. See, this orange lipstick, it's like my superpower. I just put it on, and no matter what happens, I would look amazing. And on the worst days of my life, I would wear lots of jewelry. I would wear high heels. I would look like I'm going to prom. And then people would come up to me and be like, hey, you look really good today. And I'm like, no, I'm actually having a really bad day. They'd be like, you're lying. So yeah. And the funny part is that, while you're manipulating everybody into thinking that it's going to be fine, subconsciously, you've actually manipulated yourself into thinking that everything is going to be all right. And you know what? Everything is going to be all right. And then I realized, at the end of the day, it's how you see it. It's how you face tragedy, because it will come. Even if you're rich or you're poor or whatever, it will come. And when it does, it's how you look at it and how you see yourself in it. For me, I look at spoken word poetry as a weapon for me to face life in all kinds of manners. If I have a tragedy, no matter how small, but I scrape my knee, I will find some kind of significance in it, and I will tell you about it if I get the chance. But at the end of the day, the most important part of all is how you see it when it does appear in front of you. And like Gandhi said, you should only preach what you practice. And because I practice it, I'm preaching it now, and this is what happened to me. All my life, I've always wanted to be a newscaster on television. I've always wanted to be a talk show host. And ever since I was young, I was planning for it. So when I was 15, I would go to work. I worked at 2 magazines when I was 15 so that I would have the work experience and things like that. When I was 17, I went for my first radio audition. And they said, yeah, your voice is like a little girl. We prefer men. I was like, oh, you did not, but okay. And then 2 years later, I went to audition for television, And I did in English and in Malay, and you know what they said to me? They were like, "You're really good on television. We like how you're so animated. It's all good, it's all good. But we were hoping for someone with a lighter shade." And at that point, you kind of look at your life, you're like, okay, so I've got all this work experience and certificates. I'm 22, by the way, so I'm still going to keep trying. But yeah, and you look at all this, and then you look at your skin, and you're like, I can't do much about this. I really can't. But I can do one thing, and I can rewrite my resume, and I can write this poem. And I would like to end with this poem. I am the woman who writes the powerful sentences you only dare listen but never say. I am the woman who dreams of the dreams you consider a taboo to even let linger or stay. I am the woman who will find a way when they try to give you their best shots. I am the woman who will actually multitask and give you everything I've got. I am the woman who saunters into the room in a high-waisted skirt and a cleavage showing top that will make your manhood scream and eyes pop. I am the woman who will give you a reason to stare and be slammed for sexual harassment, and when the management does nothing to stop you, I'll send you sweet flowery cards with passive-aggressive statements till you call your mother and seek for forgiveness. I am the woman who will make you believe in God, or some divine cosmic energy force, or the universe, because if you cross my path, you will need a miracle. I am the woman who will get down on her knees and fix that broken printer, and will need no assistance. I will need no assistance for transportation, for I am the woman who will drive you wild. I am the woman, the reason that glass ceiling exists. Otherwise, you'd be landscaping the sidewalk and not some fancy executive. Fret not over inconsistent charity campaigns or CSR effort. I am the woman who will give your organization a heart. I am the woman whose figure is shaped by reality and not magazine covers, whose spirit is toughened by unreasonable silence and rejection letters. My combination of being Indian and woman is now cursed to fail and be deadly. Pardon me, I'm not a racist, just a feline bitten by reality. You see, my master's degree, youth sacrifice, work experience, and are just mere words that fill a column in a CV, while you regard my certificates as fancy colored paper. And you told me my sun-kissed brown skin passed down through generations of hard labor needs to be concealed in a thick layer of foundation, powder, or blusher. Otherwise, you fear the audience will die of disgust and blindness, or take to the streets to protest the appearance of a brown spot in their television. Do not photograph me in a sari for your national advertisement if you do not want me to read the national news, walaupun saya fasih dan petah bertutur dalam bahasa Melayu. Or should I say bahasa Malaysia because you made it mandatory for me to get an A? Patriotic but not very useful in the end, I'll say. I am the woman, the gadis, the ponu, the xiaoche that you need to represent, but due to unforeseen circumstances, you won't. So if anyone comes through that door and asks for my description, tell them that I am the woman they know deep down is the woman. Thank you.